Hey guys, welcome to the Titanium Vault. I'm your host, RJ Bates III, and today I'm sitting down with my good friend Carlos Reyes. How you doing, buddy?
I'm excited, brother. It's gonna be like two good old friends just shooting the shit, man. I'm
I know,
excited.
right?
Let's
First of
go.
all, I'm a little bit upset at both of us. I don't know how we've gone this long before I had you on the podcast. I've been doing this. This is episode 161. What is wrong with
Jesus.
me?
That's crazy. And you know what's crazy? I sent you a picture a few days ago, I think like last week, of like back in 2016 when we were just having lunch. Remember that?
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a good time. I think you actually went and met Donovan Ruffin that same time too, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was meeting like all the players in Texas, because we were working on I think we were working on a project out there, right? And I was meeting, I'm like, I'm gonna meet all the players out here, the RJ Bates, Cassie and
Right.
Donnie Ruffin. And I just was making my rounds, and you guys were definitely the first people we visited, man. So I'm very grateful for that lunch. And here we are 5 years later. Yeah,
5 years later. Yeah,
5 years
it's pretty
later,
crazy.
Yeah.
A lot's changed since then. Yeah, I want to touch base on a lot of topics today about who you are as a person and as an entrepreneur. But I know this is silly, but I always do every episode this way. For the people that might not know who you are, briefly explain what it is that you've done inside of real estate investing.
Okay. I want to actually give a breakdown a little more in depth of who I am. I'm actually an entrepreneur that was born in Mexico, and I was raised in Mexico. And when I say I was pretty much dirt poor, dirt, and like literally my floors were made of dirt. And at my grandma's house, we had no electricity, no running water for, I don't know, up until around the fifth, sixth grade. You know what I mean? So I want to let people know that, I'm an immigrant who came here illegally to this country through my mother. My mother is a visionary. My mother, made the sacrifices to get me and my brother to this country because she knew that what was waiting for us in Mexico, as far as like, well, what are my sons going to be when they grow up? It wasn't good. You know what I mean? It wasn't good. So, you know what, brother? Give me 1 second. Let me shut this door. Yo, Tony, brother, Tony, can you shut this door, bro? Sorry, I couldn't see you. Sorry. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Sorry about that, man.
No worries.
Actually, everybody's off today, but there are a few people that came in here just to grind, just like me.
Right.
So anyway, man, my mother, she never made more than $8.25 an hour. I barely saw her, man. Like, she used to work 2-3 jobs just to, keep food on the table and keep the lights on. So I rarely got to see my mom. That was pretty hard. And she doesn't speak English still to this day. She doesn't speak English, and I love her. And you know what, bro? I'll tell you what, because of real estate, right? And I'll tell you where my journey started. In this building that I'm in, like, we bought this building in December of 2019. It all started with one bandit sign, by the way. One bandit sign, 2,400 bandit signs later, 6 months later of not giving up and putting so much faith into this business. I was able to retire my mother in March of 2017. She lacks nothing. She needs nothing. Same thing with my wife. My wife helps us out with one of our other business. It's a medical business, but she quit her job. She quit her job. Man, I just want people out there to know that this stuff's real. The real estate is, real estate entrepreneurship, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's real. It's just a matter of commitment. It's just a matter of focus. It's a matter of perseverance. And I want to encourage everybody out there that's either an aspiring entrepreneur, like real estate entrepreneur, or is a struggling real estate investor or entrepreneur. Hang in there, get around the right people, talk to the right people. Once you figure this thing out, man, it's game over, and your life will never be the same. So,
real quick, I want to ask you a question about your childhood, because you talk about that story a lot through your IG, your YouTube channel, things like that. You've shared that story, but did you struggle with staying positive as a child? Like, during those struggles, or did that just come naturally to you, and did that kind of strengthen you through your childhood?
Brother, so ignorance is bliss, right? Like I didn't know how poor I was until I came to this country. Like there was people in my neighborhood, because we lived up in like the mountains, and I don't know if I told you, but in Mexico, like when you live in the mountains, like your houses are made out of just, I mean, I can't even explain it, man. It's like this. Your houses are made out of like wood, like wood
Right.
and laminate roofing, right? And ignorance is bliss. Like people in my neighborhood, they didn't even have shoes. Like we would play soccer. They didn't, and like most of them would not have shoes. Like I would have shoes thanks to like, my mom and, what she could gather every now and then. But there was times, bro, where I was intentionally like, I would go out there and I would walk in my neighborhood without shoes just to be like the rest of the kids, Real like there was times where I tried playing soccer without shoes. And ignorance is bliss. I did not know how poor I was. I didn't know how poor I was because I just everybody I saw was just like me, right? Like they would, have the washing boards in the back and the back houses to use the restroom, and no electricity and no running water, where the water truck would come by once a week and we would fill these big containers in the front yard, and that's where we would get our water from. So ignorance is bliss, man. And I'll tell you what, though, my mom was always such a warrior, a positive, strong person that I remember at the age of 5, and her and I love, like, by the way, for people out there, honor your parents while you still can, because I still have my mother, and, my father is around, like, but he wasn't around, like, he wasn't around.
Right.
He tries to come around now, and, we're cordial, right? Except he was absent for about 19 years of my life. But honor your mother, honor your father, honor your parents. Ask them about your childhood, because you have a story to tell. You have a book, you have a book to write, right? Like ask them. I love picking my mom's brain on like when I was 5 years old and what my child, like my inner child, like what it was like and what kind of questions and what statements I would make. And she said, son, when you were 5 years old, you used to tell me that one day you were going to have your business and you were going to make a lot of money and you were going to buy me a big house and everything was going to be fine and we were going to stop being poor. She tells me that all the time. And that's what I'm telling you. She used to tell me, and I'm like, okay, because I asked her, I said, all right, mom, so what did you used to tell me? And she's like, I used to tell you, son, you can have anything you want in this world. You just got to work hard. You can have anything you want in this world. And that's why, brother, I'm telling you, man, like I might have been poor as shit, but my mom, programming wise, like she was planting seeds in my brain since I was 5 years old.
She gave you a wealthy mindset, is what she gave you.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Look, I'll never forget that. I've told the story over and over and over again of how Cassie and I went to a $60,000 education program, and the one thing that I could say, I mean, they didn't teach us shit about real estate. Like they taught us to go buy deals off the MLS, right? I mean, we didn't know how to go direct to seller.
Yeah.
But the one thing that they did tell me was, and I'll never forget it, he said, you can have a poor mindset or you can have a wealthy mindset. And there's a difference between being poor and being broke. Broke just means you don't have money. But you can still have a wealthy mindset and be broke. And he said, from this moment on, I want you to walk in the door of whatever room you walk into and you tell yourself, I'm the wealthiest person in this room. And I'll never forget, I started doing it and looking at it now, it's like, here we are 7 years later. And I'm interviewing people like you and Pace Morby and the Max Maxwell's. And it's unbelievable that I've even been able to associate myself with people like
you. You guys have created a beautiful business, man. You guys have created right? Like you're tasting what financial freedom is really like. I mean, not only the financial freedom on the money side, we're not having to worry about like bills. I mean, right? At one point, what did we think about all day was money, like the lack of money, right? Paying the mortgage, paying the cars, paying insurance, paying the, everything, right? Like that's what we thought about all day, every day, that we were in survival mode.
Right.
And now that we got the biggest chunk of stress out of our mindset, right? The biggest objection. Now we get to think about what? Creating creating and teaching and living and being, prosperous and having joy in our lives, right? And loving people, because why? We're not all in survival mode and all stressed out and all negative, and it's a vicious cycle, and that's what it is, man. So
you'll love this story, Carlos. I had a family member ask me recently, RJ, do you even do real estate anymore? And I said, of course. What do you mean? And they said, well, all we see you doing is videos and podcasts and you're on YouTube. And I mean, when are you actually doing this? And I proudly got to tell them I have people doing that for me now. RJ isn't doing that. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not necessarily quite at your level where I never know what's going on, but I'm very hands off on a lot of aspects,
which is beautiful.
It's a beautiful thing. So I want to talk about your partner, Sal. He's one of the just smartest individuals I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my life, and Cassie adores him, and they get along great.
And you know what? More important, bro, he's one to this day. To this day, I met Sal in 2013. We became partners in 2014. To this day, bro, I can tell you with all my heart that he's one of the best human beings that I've ever met in my life. Like that guy will take his shirt off for anybody.
Well, how did y'all's partnership come about?
Well, I was working on my 9-to-5, and he had this small little dealership of like 15 cars, right? Right. And one day I'm out marketing, and I go into his dealership. And he wasn't there, but his finance guy was there. He had I remember his crew consisted of him, his finance guy, his brother who would do the car running, and his dad who would do the car running. So he had 4 people. That was it, right? And I walk in this little trailer, and like it's a little, have you seen those little pop-up trailers? And they got like a small size lot, right? I walk in, and this guy Larry's there, and I'm like, hey brother, I'm down the street. I'm I don't know, a mile from here, half a mile. Would love to work with you guys, help you guys with all your title work, right? Because at that point I was working at a 9-to-5 who I also brought, like I actually launched as an intrapreneur at that time, right? Not an entrepreneur. I was bringing other streams of income to that company. And I brought this third-party motor vehicle department to that company because it's something that I went to learn. And I'm like, hey guys, let's do this in this company. Just give me a percentage, right? So they were like, okay, cool. So then I meet Larry, and then Sal, he sends Sal like a few days later, and then him and I just hit it off. The first thing Sal did was like, hey bro, is that your car outside? And I was like, yeah. And I had like a black, like paint was super faded. Like my paint was like this, we're in Arizona, right? Like your paint goes out pretty quickly if you don't have good paint, and I definitely didn't have good paint.
Right.
So the first thing he asked me, he's like, before like he asked anything from me, he's like, hey bro, is that your car outside? I said, yeah. He's like, hey man, I got some people that can help you on the paint side. I'll take care of it. It's on me, right? And I'm like, who is this guy, right? Right. And I'm like, damn, this guy's, I love his heart. And the next thing you know, for 1 year, we become like great friends. And he saw my hustle. He saw me working like 70 hours, a week for another company, not my. And he's already an entrepreneur. He's like, bro, why don't you work that hard for yourself? I was like, what do you mean? Well, why don't you work that hard for yourself? Because brother, I became Americanized. People need to understand out there that when I was 5 years old, I was already in Mexico selling bread. Like I had a basket of bread going door to door. You know what I mean? I was like, because in Mexico, when you're poor the way I was poor, you figure out ways to try to make money. And I'm sure when you go to Mexico, you see people come up to you like, hey, do you want to buy these shades? Or right. Yeah, I was one of those guys, right? So, I was an entrepreneur like from birth, but then I became Americanized when I got to to this country. I started, seeing what, like, okay, you go to school, you go to college, you get a good job, you make 70, 100K a year, whatever. And then you retire at some point, and then you just live off your retirement, 401k IRA. Well, Sal started like bringing that child of me, like, of me, right? Like just bringing back out. I'm like, damn, this guy is telling me I should start my own business. So then I started flipping clothes. And then he took me to the auction and I started flipping cars. And then he's like, bro, he's like, we got to become partners. Like, you're good at this. And I'm like, well, what do you have in mind? He's like, I don't know. Car wash, coffee shop. What do you want? And he's telling me he didn't know what to do.
Right.
And I'm like, man, because I remember when I was here during the summer of 7th and 8th grade, and in the summer of 8th grade and 9th grade, I was working illegally at construction sites with a wheelbarrow picking up trash for like, my other Mexican people, right?
Right.
I'm just like the kid that's picking up trash for them, right? And they're paying me cash under the table. And I used to see them like tear these houses apart and then put them back together, like really nice. Like I've never seen this happen, right? I'm from Mexico. And I'm like, I always wanted to get into real estate. He's like, oh, what do you mean? Like a real estate agent? I said, no, like real estate investing. He's like, oh man, Sal's one of the skeptics. He's like, don't you need a lot of money for that? Right. I said, well, no, man, I heard about this thing called real estate wholesaling where you actually don't need a lot of money and you don't need credit and you don't need a license, right? And he's like, well, what do you know about that? I said, well, I don't know much about it, man, but you know what? Give me like a month and I'm going to go find out everything I could and I'll be back, right? And sure thing, man, I'm pounding the books. I read a book called Flip by Reyes. It was like $10, right? And then I started joining his online webinars, back when it was like, man, we're talking like 2014, 2015 here when we didn't have the technology we have now, right? So I'm doing that and I come back to Sal. I'm like, brother, I think this can really work, man. We just got to hustle and we're hustlers. He's like, okay, what do you have in mind? I said, well, I'll start out with some bandit signs. So, he's like, well, for marketing, like, what do you like? What are we doing for marketing? I said, you know what, bro? We'll do like a $500 a month budget for marketing. I'll get the blank signs from a sign shop, and then my wife will write them with the marker. And brother, I shit you not, 2,400 bandit signs. 6 months later, handwritten bandit signs. Like, we got our first deal, and then that deal we made $5K. Right. We made 5,000, and then we dumped that into direct mail, and then we made 60,000, and then we dumped that into direct mail. We made 30,000, and then we dumped that into pay per click, and then we made 123,000, and then we just never looked back.
Man, that's incredible.
That's how it started with us, man.
What's funny is Carlos, both you and I are visionaries, but it took somebody else.
Yeah.
Saying to us, and strangely enough, it's both of our partners, Sal for you, Cassie for me, to literally tell us, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing this for yourself? Why don't you? Yeah, I'll never forget Cassie. I was dropping her off at her bartending job, and I'm dropping her off in her Kia Soul so I could have a car because I didn't have a car.
Sharing a car?
Yeah, I'm dropping her off, and she says in the parking lot, we should start a business together. And I'm like, haha, that's cute. We have no money. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And she's like, we need to figure something out. This is how we're going to change our lives. And, several failed businesses, not failed, but several businesses that we moved on from, we eventually got the real estate investing. And it's funny that it took Sal doing that for you to kind of go, this is what we need to do. Because I'll never forget the moment when I told Cassie, this is what we're doing. We're doing wholesaling. This is going to change our lives. This is what I was meant to do. And sure enough, here we are.
Man,
so
what a beauty, bro. What a beauty, man.
And so let's talk about in 2016. We kind of briefly touched on that, but you came to DFW. I'll never forget meeting you and Sal and Alex. And at that time, explain the scenario there with Alex, because it's a little bit unique in the fact that he is your partner in some businesses, but not everything like Sal. So what is the relationship there with Alex?
So Alex, he came into our lives in 2016. And how I kind of found Alex, or he found me, was I was doing the medical. So on the side, I was doing real estate like 90%. And then I was doing the diabetic test strips, right?
Right.
Brother, when I tell you that at some point, Alex and I were making 10 to 20,000 a month on just diabetic test strips, right? I was in my little 2011 Prius picking up all these test strips and flipping them to like vendors. And then, you know, he was my competition in the test strip industry, right?
Right.
Like, who's this kid? Like, he was like 18. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, well, how's he making so much money and this and that? And then I met Alex. We met for lunch, and we kind of just, man, I was like, man, this guy's 18.
Right.
Like, bro, he was already thinking like I've never seen an 18-year-old think, right? So I'm like, you know what? I probably got to stick, you know, keep this guy around. Right? I'm gonna keep this guy around. And sure enough, we became good friends. And in 2018, we became partners. In 2018, see, it took us. I met like 2 years later, we became partners in other ventures. We're still not partners in real estate. Like, he has Offer Home. He has Offer Home. They do well over 6 figures every single month, right? And he only works about 2 to 4 weeks, right? Like, me and Sal was like, man, he's like the 4-hour work week kind of guy, right?
Right.
And me and Sal are like, look, bro, everybody's off. Look at this. Everybody's off right now. There's a few people there, but everybody's off, and I'm here, right? Because if I'm bored, bro, like, I'll come to work. You know what I mean? Like, I that's just my DNA, you know? So me and Sal are like that. Like, Sal, I already spoke to him at least 5 times this morning, and, you know, he's on the phone with developers and all kinds of calls. So anyway, with Alex, one of the few businesses that we don't have together is still the real estate side, right? We have all kinds of other businesses together, but that's still one of the businesses we don't have together. And I don't know if that's ever going to change, right? I really don't know if that's ever going to change because he kind of likes, he has his own crew. Like, you know, his brother's his dispo. He has some of his high school football buddies that are acquisitions. Like, right. Yeah. So I don't know if that's ever going to change because we have our crew and he has his crew and it works, you know?
So at what point in time did the 3 of y'all sit down and say, hey, let's go into the education space?
June 2018.
June 2018.
Yeah. So we spent, I spent $3,000 to go to this event, and Alex spent $3,000 and Sal spent $3,000. So we spent $9,000. Then we flew to San Francisco. That was another $1,200. So we probably spent like $12K that weekend. Right. And this was already 2018. So we were already like, we were doing pretty good by then. Right. You know, and we show up, and then it's kind of like a mastermind. It was called the 7-Figure Flipper Mastermind with my good friend Jason Boozy. Yep. And I love him, by the way. Anytime I'm in San Francisco, I hit him up. I used to hit up Chaim, but he moved to Israel. And so I hit him up, and we go over there, and we go around the room, and these guys are these Bay Area investors. We're one of the few people that are not Bay Area, right? And these guys are making millions of dollars, and they're not really out there like taking the risk like Sal and I. Brother, when I tell you Sal and I spend over $1 million in just marketing, right? These guys are not, they're spending like $300K a year, $400K, and they're making like more than we're making. Right. And then, so the mastermind goes around. I'm like, these guys are just direct mailing. Oh, wow, this guy is getting his from referrals, from, you know, pocket listings, right? Like, nobody knew the marketing game the way Sal and I knew the marketing game by this time, because we have spent all that money and we were stupid and we didn't hire mentors. We were just like, all right, you know, let's spend $50,000 on PPC, see how that goes, right? All right, let's spend $20,000 this month on direct mail, see how that goes. All right, let's spend, you know, 15, 20K on cold calling, see how that goes. So we figured all this out by trial and error, you know, beta testing. I wish I would have hired a mentor, but back then I don't think anybody besides maybe Sean Terry, I don't think anybody was really going heavy after all the marketing channels. You know what I mean? So it was kind of a gift, and, you know, it was kind of a blessing in disguise, I would say, right? So anyway, we go to this training, and Sal and I are looking around the room, and we're like, man, don't get me wrong, these guys are making more money than us, but we know a lot more than them about building and scaling a company through marketing and sales, right? Because that's all wholesaling is. It's marketing and sales, right? And everything in between, right? So we're like, man, why don't we just throw our own event, right? We come back, it was like March, and we're like, okay, let's throw our own event. Okay, what are we going to do? I don't know, man. What are we going to charge? I'm like, you know what? Let's just give away the game for $5,000. No mentorship. We didn't even start mentoring until 2019, right? So like a year and a half, 2 years later. And we're like, okay, $5,000. And then guess who came to that event?
Who?
Everybody.
That's what I was going to say.
Like Pace Morby, Ryan Pineda, Keith Everett, like Donnie Ruffin, like Austin Rutherford, Tiffany Burton, like everybody came to that. Nick Lebano, Octavius Bennett, Giovanni Morato, like everyone but you. No, I don't think. Yeah, you definitely didn't come to any of those events.
I have not.
But everybody came to those events. And when I tell you, bro, that we gave away the entire game for $5, because at that time, like they would be like, they got their little card, the gurus at that time, right? And that's okay. If I think you and I might be considered gurus at this point, because
so.
And that's okay, right? That's okay, because we're bringing the authenticity in the word guru back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we actually, we do this for a living, right? So I think everybody at that point, like the Thad Merrills of the world, and although I think they were like, even Cody at that time, I don't know, right? They were holding their cards like, hey, you want to learn this? Pay me $50,000. Like, right?
Exactly.
And I get it, because guess what? Like I told you, I'm like, we spent a lot of money like figuring this stuff out. I get why they charge whatever they're charging, but we were just like, man, let's just throw 2 events this year. And to this day, us, bro, we throw 2 to 3 events a year. Like we're not like event. Like we don't do that. We don't have time for that shit, right? So we threw an event. We charged $5,000 up front. We got like 80 people, 82 people. So like everybody that's just crushing it, not everybody, but a lot of people that are crushing it out there, you'll like ask them, like, we gave away the game, And then that was June of 2018, man. That's when we started educating, and that's when Alex became our partner.
I love it, man. And it's funny, you brought up a couple of things there about the fact that you looked at it and you said there was no one really doing that aspect of education.
No.
And that's part of why you didn't have a mentor. And what's funny is you brought up me not coming to your event. Part of the reason why I didn't come to your event is that I was of the mindset of where you were, where it's like, I would rather trial and error myself, beta test everything.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to go to an event for $5,000
for
and
sure.
get nothing. And then somebody tell me, all right, go in the back. And now we're going to teach you how to go get a credit card from Capital One for $50,000 so you can pay us, because then we're really going to teach you. Because, dude, I had already done that. So that's how I got in, was the $60,000 bullshit.
Damn.
And you got to think, I became extremely jaded to everything education.
You and 90% of the industry, right?
Yes. So I'm seeing you guys do this. And what's funny about it is my reaction to that was, I'm never going to do that. That was literally my reaction to you guys doing that. And
give away the game?
Yeah, I was never going to do education.
Oh.
That was my reaction to you guys doing it.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I was so jaded because of my own personal experience.
I get it.
And then I see Donnie, Tang and Eric, Tiffany and Josh High. I mean, all of these people that I know that I like, dude, I interviewed Donovan Ruffin on the podcast back in 2017. His episode is, we drop 500 bandit signs a weekend, and then, we wait on the phone to ring. Now he's out there crushing it doing.
Bro, I think he did like $7 million gross last year.
Right.
Like $7 million gross. Like, he told me his numbers. Like, it wasn't net, but to do $7 million gross is still, it's hard. It's hard in the investing wholesaling world. It's really difficult to do $7 million gross
in a very difficult market.
Absolutely.
Right. Like that's impressive. So point being was, at some point in time, because of what y'all created with All In, it eventually changed my mindset of watching the lives that you've impacted to say, hey, and it took another springboard, another catalyst, another person to come to me, and that was Jesse Burrell from Batch saying, RJ, you need to be doing this. Like, you have a gift.
Oh, you have knowledge. Bro.
Right. You have knowledge. You need to be sharing this. And the reason why is because there's going to be people that come to All In and they need more. They need it from somebody else's voice. Sometimes it's literally just about the voice.
Absolutely.
That it comes from, you know,
or they resonate with you more, right? Like, this is the thing, brother. What I want you to know is, like, one thing that I sincerely believe in is that no person belongs to anyone.
Right.
That when people need to, because I used to think that way. I used to be like, oh man, I can't believe Keith is over there learning from, like, it's like, what? No, brother. This is the thing, man. Like, some people are going to resonate more with us. They're going to resonate with you. Or like my really good friend, Vic Heredia, who does six figures a month. I don't know if you ever met him. One of the sweetest individuals ever. This guy is in multiple, he's in Atlanta, San Antonio, like, he's everywhere, right? And brother, I see him in every single, like, event, and because that's just, people, you can't tell people where to spend their money, right? The only thing that matters to me as far as that goes is that whoever they're spending their money on, as long as those people are servants, and that, those people, I always say this, for you to be a good mentor, you just have to care. That's it. Like, if you just care, and the people that have come out of some of our events and our mentorships, bro, would I ever hate on Austin Rutherford because he's doing education? Would I ever hate on Ryan Pineda because, he came to our event, learned a bunch of stuff, he's doing it? Like, no, those are good people. Tiffany, like, she stresses herself out on delivering to her students, right? I know Donnie's thrown some masterminds and 2-day events, and Keith and Lenny throw 2-day events. I'm like, go. Like, I'm trying to, like, yeah, you need to go there, right?
Right.
Bro, there's plenty. As long as I feel like, and Tim Mai, Tim, right?
Yep.
Tim Mai. He goes, Carlos, I love your generation of educators. He's like, why? He's like, you guys are just different, man. Like, you guys actually give. Like, Tim's old school. Tim's been around. Tim came up with the Rich Dad Poor Dads and the Than Marrows of the world, right? And that's why he, like, this little. We're leaving on Wednesday. I'm gonna be out there in Key West, right? Because, man, I'm like, there's so much of the new school that's gonna be there. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna have old school and new school. And brother, our era of educators, we're the real deal. Like, we really do change lives.
Agreed. Tim invited me to that event, and I actually told him, I was like, I'm just now throwing my first event. I'm not quite sure I can be guru enough to go to a guru event if I've only thrown one event.
No, bro, you can, because there's people going that they want to be coaches. Like, hey, I'm like my buddy Corey Geary. You know Corey?
Yep.
Man, Corey's one of the best human beings that I know on earth. Like, this he's a brother, bro. Like, this dude has always supported us, and we always support him, and that's how it should always be that way, right?
Right.
But he's going because he says, he's like, Carlos, he's like, I want to educate at some point. It's part, bro. I know people look at the education side like, oh man, because people are jaded, just like you were, right?
Yep.
But there are people that's like, hey, how can I give back, but also create another income stream? Also, my time and energy be compensated to some extent, because, bro, your time's not free.
Right.
You have your beautiful life in your children, you know what I'm saying? Like, your time's not free, bro, Well,
and that's, I want to kind of transition into the next aspect of the interview with that, where it's, you are, in my opinion, one of the greatest givers in our entire industry.
Thank you.
And I want to say that from an aspect of, you are one of the real guys that still goes in and regularly interacts with people. Absolutely. I see you support your people. Like,
always.
When Donnie posts something about a huge win for him, you're there. You're supporting him.
Always.
Tiffany High was posting this weekend about, hey, I'm doing this or that, and I see you commenting, engaging with her, supporting her. You are always there, giving to your people and supporting.
Thank you.
And I want to bring something up, because you were very outspoken about this on your social media platforms, and it was surprising to me because I've had a loss in my family, and it was hard for me to talk about. So it meant a lot to me to hear you talk about this, but on January 9th, you had to bury your little brother. You lost your little brother.
Yeah.
And you were open and honest about a week later, you were speaking at an event that you had made an arrangement. You had made a commitment to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And your comment about that was your purpose has to be bigger than your pain.
Yeah.
So what is Carlos's purpose?
Man, like I posted something today because I want you to know that like I got this application. It's called Trello, right? And I got virtual assistants. So what they do is they take my Twitter post and then they put it in a picture and then they post it, right? It's all automated now. Thank God, right? Because who the hell has time? Like I can't run 27 businesses and be on social media all day, right? And I just got Sal automated on that because if you look at Sal's last post was probably from a year ago, like he doesn't post, right?
Right.
I'm like, brother, like I need you to be relevant somehow. I need you to like let a brother. So and then I go, let me get you my VA so they can start posting for you. But this morning, this is what came out, and it says, having to break every generational curse might require your entire life. You know what I mean? So when I tell you that my purpose is definitely bigger than my pain. By the way, my mother, myself. And my sister and my family on Saturday, we actually were at the cemetery, celebrating my little brother's birthday. He was in Mexico, and he was shot behind the head, which was very unfortunate. We were there and we were celebrating, and we're celebrating him, right? It was celebrating, and that's why I said, "Hey, brother," I said, I'm still here. I'm still like, I'm still alive. Like I smile for you now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you're part of me now. I'm carrying you with me now. Right. And one of my, like, I have so many purposes, brother. And one of my biggest purposes before I leave this earth is to change the entire like lineage of my family. Right, where the Reyes name actually, like, it's made out of what? Entrepreneurs and lawyers and doctors now, right? Instead of what it was before me. Right. What was it before me? It was just poverty, So that's one of my biggest things, man. Why do you think, and we'll get into this, but why do you think my wife has a coach, a personal development coach twice a week? Why do you think my third grader has a coach? And you guys can look her up. Her name is Tanya C. Oliver on Instagram, and she coaches not only does she coach me, but she coaches my wife and my third grader, because guess what? When I tell you, bro, that I'm learning the game, I'm trying to learn the game at the highest level, and I'm willing to sacrifice everything, my time, energy, and money, to making sure that my next generation is set up to where, I'm not, if God ever gets us that big, like the Rockefellers and the JP Morgan Chases and all, and the Charles Schwabs, what do you think they do with their families? They pour it all into their families to set up that next generation, right? That's called legacy, by the way, right? That's part of the legacy, right? So, that's part of it. The other part is what? To liberate people of their limited beliefs, to liberate people from, the pain, man. The 86% of people in this world are in pain. They're going through financial stress. They're going through heartaches. They're going through anxiety. They're going through depression. They're going through some stuff, man, because I've been through that stuff. And guess what? I'm still human. I still have my days where I have anxiety and I have depression, right? So I want to liberate as much people as I can in this world, and I want to impact them to, man, even if it's just this much, if I can impact somebody to become a better father, a better husband, a better entrepreneur, you know what I mean? Like, that's part of my big purpose, man, is to serve the world at whatever capacity God has in store for me. So that's part of my purpose, bro.
Well, and I see that through the message that you're constantly delivering. I mean,
brother,
you're never preaching about real estate. You're never preaching about, hey, this is how you comp or this is how you make an offer or anything like that. It's about what's going on up here in your head
and right here
where your heart is, right?
Yep.
Some of the things that I think are unknowns to people. You guys have the Help a Friend Foundation, right?
Yeah.
Speak on that for a second. How did that come about?
We created the Help a Friend Foundation in 2019. Alex, myself, Sal, because we want to be able to help families in distress, single moms in financial distress, right? Electricity bills, water bills, rent, anything, food, right? Because Sal's an immigrant from Iraq. He wasn't born here. He was persecuted as a Christian, right? He was persecuted, and that's how he got here. He got here in 2007. That's what a lot of people don't know that, right? Mm-hmm. I came to this country because poverty was persecuting me. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, right? Like escaping poverty, right? And Alex he's been through his mom and dad being divorced, living in a trailer park. Like, he's been through all that. So that's the one thing we're never going to change about ourselves, man, is where we come from and how we love people. Like, we really do love people. That's what people they might not understand this or know this. We love people. We love people. That's it. So Help a Friend was created to actually serve this world at that level in that aspect.
You want to know what's crazy about our journeys is how similar they are in the aspect of you and Sal felt the aspect of poverty, coming here from other countries, that directly impacted your lives. And so the moment that you achieved some level of success, you went out and you started Help a Friend. Childhood cancer impacted my life because my niece Riley was diagnosed when she was 3 years old. And that was the exact same year. That was 2012 when Cassie and I started our first company. And I think it was 2015, we started Beat Kids Cancer, which is our nonprofit.
Wow.
And you want to know what's funny? We give the money that we raise to families to pay their mortgage, their electric, food on the table. During Christmas time, we go and buy the entire family Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Not just the kids that's going through
same thing.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And it's so funny to hear that's what Help a Friend does is the same thing that Beat Kids Cancer does, because I think we realize that it's those types of moments of normalcy. Just getting your car paid, just getting your electric bill paid makes such a huge difference to these people.
Yes.
So I wanted to shine light on that. And then also the fact that you guys raised or helped raise over $49,000 for a 12-year-old with cancer back in 2019. And so I wanted to bring that up on the tail end of me talking
By the
about
way, that was
kids
on
cancer.
The books. That wasn't even the money that Sal, Alex, and myself gave outside the books.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and by the way, I want to make an announcement in regards to that. Rest in peace, Jordan Colosimo. She didn't make it. She made it for a year, brother. But I'll tell you what, the way God works, right? The way God works is we were able to raise that money. And you know what that money went towards? Her mom spending that little girl's last year on this earth full time. Her mom was able to actually quit her job. This is the way God works, right? Brother, they didn't go buy a car. They didn't. No. Giovanna, which is the mother, she spent the last year of her baby girl's life by her side every single day. Every day. How beautiful. How beautiful is that?
Yeah.
Right. And that all came, brother. I'm telling you, when I went to the hospital to visit Jordan the first time after like raising the money, brother, I broke down. Because guess what? I have daughters. Yeah. I broke down. Someone got it on, I think one of my buddies, I don't know if you've ever had them on your show, AK and Ace. They were some of our mentees. They do commercial stuff now up in DC. One of them recorded like with his phone, like obviously no cameras, nothing. He just kind of recorded a little bit of it. Brother, I said, hey, I was giving her that money. I said, hey, I'm going to pay you. You know what you owe me? Getting better. And she did, bro. She got better for a whole year. And her mother got to spend every single moment of that little girl's last year on this earth together. And I'm so grateful for that, man. So that's one of the biggest, best things I've ever been able to do with the help of our community and with the blessing of the Lord. Brother, I don't, there's really not much more I can say about that, man.
Absolutely. And that's an amazing story. And I bring all this up to say that there are times where people look at success that Carlos has. They see you post pictures that are there for marketing, first and foremost.
Yeah, sure. I think people know that now.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but they see a level of success and they think that there's an ego at play there, or that there's not this humble spirit that is there behind what you are accomplishing with All In. I mean, you call it that. I come up with names for the episode, and it's normally like Carlos Reyes, leading the blah blah to the All In Nation. This is, you are literally you have created an actual All In Nation, and of people that I know, I've seen, and on top of that, you're right, the community rallied around you guys and have helped so many people. It's incredible what you guys have created,
brother. That's what it's all about. You know what I love about our community, because I'm a strong believer in you attract who you are. Like, you attract who you are, and the people that we've been able to attract in our lives, in our community, there's not one thing that none of them would do for anybody.
Right.
Everybody some of the guys you mentioned earlier, like, they're real people and they're successful. They have 7-figure operations, and they're givers, bro. They're givers. You and I both know they're all givers. Like, you call one of them up, hey, brother, man, I'm struggling with my business. Like, what are you doing that's working? Oh, this is what I'm doing. That's like, they don't care.
Right.
You winning does not mean that I'm losing.
Right. Exactly.
That's the mindset. We all got to get out of this little crab mentality, man. Right? It's like, pulling each other down. Like, I've been there, bro. Right. And I just want to express this from my experience over these several years. It's like, entrepreneurs, we go through these 3 phases in our entrepreneur journey. Okay. Phase 1 is survival. You and I were just talking about that. Trying to create a business, right? Trying to make something out of nothing, like trying to make magic happen, right? And everybody's doubting you. Like, nobody believes in you but you, and in your case, Cassie, right? Survival, phase 1. Phase 2 is status. I went through a status phase for about 8 to 12 months, when you got to see the gold necklaces and the ego and the pride, and I'm the man. I'm the man, and I'm the guy. I do way more deals than you. Blah. Who gives a shit? Right. But we all go through that status phase, and guess what, brother? 90% of people never get out of that phase, that status phase, because once you start feeding that ego, you attach your identity to it.
Yep.
You attach and you got to keep inflating it. I've been there. I've been that guy. And I had to go, man, when I started doing my personal development work, it was tough, bro, to have to face some of these disgusting, ugly traits of myself, where I had to detach ego from me to be ordered to be a better husband and a better father and a better servant, right? Like, I had to detach myself. But once I did the work and I detached myself from status, I went through phase 3, which I call significance, right? These are the 3 S's: survival, status, significance. You and I are in a significant state. We don't give a shit what you think of us. We don't give a shit how many deals you think I do. We don't give a shit, what you think, if you think I'm successful or I'm like, that's not going to change my purpose. You're not going to you're not going to take attention away from me, and you're not going to take attention from my intention. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So significance, that's when you're serving, like significance, servitude. That's when everything just begins to happen. Everything begins to just fall in place for you. without you really having to work as hard as you and I had to work when we were in survival mode. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I want to tell you a story because you were a part of this. So during the Closers Olympics, I promise you I'm not going to give you a hard time about the Closers Olympics. But during the Closers Olympics, I'll never forget the night that Aaron Bevins called me, and he was like, hey, man, we're thinking of doing this thing where we're going to cold call sellers, and it's going to be live, and would you like to participate? I'm thinking this dude is talking about like a webinar or like an IG live or something. And I'm like, sure, bro, I'll do it with you, whatever. Next thing I know, I'm on a conference call and all these people are on it.
And you're one of the closers.
And I'm like, whoa, we're going to sell how many tickets? 1,000 plus? Okay, it's a little bit different. But someone called me and they asked me, they said, RJ, why would you risk your brand to go do that live in front of people? What if you fall on your face? What if you just get 30 minutes of a cold string of bad leads?
Wow.
And people start questioning, RJ is not what he says he is. What if your brand takes a hit? And my literal response to him was, I would rather risk that and make a difference for all the people that are watching.
And you did.
And show them what I know to do. I would rather make that impact. And I bring that up because on the first day, one of the deals that I got the verbal agreement on was a couple in Birmingham, Alabama. And they sent me a card in the mail with a check made out to me for $700. And the letter inside the card said, in our family, we tithe to whatever we're most grateful for in our lives. And we are most grateful for the significant impact that you made on us as real estate investors. Just that moment of seeing what you did. And that was one of like, dude, it was just, it gives me chills to even still think
significance.
Exactly.
Significance, right? The status phase in you. Maybe it was like, well, no, actually, no. Someone out there was like, hey, what if you fall on your face and it hurts your brand? You know, but what's the other side, right? It's like, well, but what if it doesn't? You know, what if it, right? What if I'm able to serve? And brother, I can tell you this. I think like people like you and people like Elijah and people like Adrian and Stephen Morales, like everybody in the game in the industry knows who you guys are now.
Right.
There was actually a lot of good that came out of there. A lot of good.
Agreed. Right? And the funny thing about it was I never even thought about it from that aspect. I just, my heart was in the, hey, first, this is a competition and it's going to be fun.
Which you're a crazy competitor.
Right. I mean, honestly, I was like, this is going to be super fun.
Yeah.
And then second, it was like, dude, this is crazy awesome that people get to pay. I can't remember what it was. It was like $100 to watch basically 20 hours. I mean, 20 hours. Oh, you're just sitting there for 20 hours. Yes. Yeah. And it was amazing. And so it was an honor to be a part of. And yes, there was.
And you made it fun, by the way. You made it real fun. Remember with the beer and you made it real fun, man. Like, and I love that about you. I love because I have thick skin. You know, right. There's people out there obviously that, they're a little more on the sensitive side, but I love that shit. Like I love the hype you were bringing, the charisma. You know what I mean?
It was supposed to be fun. You know? Yeah. And I saw an impact that it made on people's lives, and so I just wanted to bring that up while you talked about that. The last thing before we wrap up, because I can't believe we're almost at an hour already. But
brother, I told you, like, I'm just having a conversation with you. I
know. I hope everybody else gets as much out of this as I'm getting out of this, because honestly, Carlos, I as much shit talking as I've done about you since the Closers Olympics, a lot of that was just in good humor and just having fun and keeping up with the what I'd already let up with the trash talk before. But you honestly are one of those people that I truly look up to in the industry as someone that is impacting so many people's lives. And I've asked this in the past, and I stopped probably about a year and a half ago. But considering where you are today, where do you want to be 5 years from now?
You know, I say this all the time. The goal is for me not to jeopardize my health and my family, right? Because it took me a lot to build what I built. Like, a lot of people don't know this, man, but I went through anxiety, depression, health issues, gaining weight, being on Klonopin, being on Paxil. I went through neglecting my baby girl for the first 3 to 4 years of her life.
Yep.
Like, I went through a lot. I'm in a place in my life now where if it doesn't jeopardize, my health and my family, the time with my family, whatever God wants from me, man, if God wants me to ever get to a level where I'm impacting millions, as long as he gives me the margin for it, the capacity, I'll do it. And if God wants me to wrap it up and, go to some small town and, I don't know, go to Birmingham and become a pastor, a preacher, again, brother, like it's whatever he has in store for me, right? Ideally, I would love to continue, man, to build businesses, to serve my family, to serve the community, to make a difference in people's lives, even if it's this much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ideally, like, that's what I would love to do. And I know for a fact, I can sit here and tell you as a friend and a brother, that there's no amount of money and there's no amount of influence that's ever going to change my heart, ever. It's just never going to happen. Like, as far as like the way I treat people, like, it's never going to happen.
I said this last week on my episode with Pace Morby. I went to dinner with you. We were there for probably 4 hours.
I remember.
We didn't talk about real estate once. You talked about your coach for your mindset, your business coach, your health, everything that goes on. You are one of the few people that regularly talks about, you want to better your life, be a better husband, be a better father, be a better leader.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the things that you say, even just those simple phrases, saying it over and over and over again.
Yes.
For the people that are listening, and I mean this with all sincerity, because I said it last week with Pace. I think Pace is an amazing coach. He pours into people. He over delivers on value.
Man, I've seen him.
He was a machine. But
he sleeps like 3 hours a night or something.
I know it's stupid, but if you want someone that is going to make an impact on your life, not necessarily your real estate business, you're going to do that. Your students speak for themselves, right?
Sure.
But to have a mentor like Carlos, someone out there that is also going to make you a better human being. I don't know very many people in the real estate industry that also do that as well. So that being said, I know y'all have the All In Freedom event coming up.
Yes, sir.
How can people find out about that?
So, by the way, man, before we even I want to say thank you, brother, because that coming from you means the world to me, because that means that if you're paying attention to those small details, there's other people that might even be paying a lot of attention to those small details, right? I say this all the time. You want more, become more, right? I believe in, I strongly believe in the stuff that I preach, and I can't believe in it and I can't preach it unless I'm living it.
Right.
Because then I'm a complete fraud. And if you ask, I think the biggest feedback you'll ever get of who anybody is, just ask their families, ask the wives, ask their children, ask their business partners. Hey, who is RJ Bates, right? How does he treat you, right? How does he live his life behind curtains? What's the 3 a.m. version of him? Right. That's what I believe in. I believe that you cannot accomplish massive success without aligning mind, body, and spirit. I don't. Brother, one thing that I always preach is something that I learned from one of my mentors, one of my coaches now, is, when it comes to my family, I don't want to do what I did the first 3 or 4 years. Is I don't want to give them the rest of me. I want to give them the best of me. To me, that means the world, because guess what? I don't know if you've noticed, brother, but when you're a good husband, you're a good son, you're a good father, you become a great entrepreneur.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, the better you become at those things, the better you become in business. I promise you this. How many times have you and I've seen you got these guys out there, flashing whatever they're flashing and living these whatever lives they're, and then you look behind the curtain and you're like, damn, what the hell is going on? See, for me, when I'm looking at a coach and I'm looking at a mentor, I'm not just looking at the money. That's a small factor of the equation that makes up success. I'm looking at the way you live your life behind closed doors. That means the world to me. And you know what? I'll tell you what. If I can impact somebody out there to become a better husband and become a better father and become a better friend and become a better servant of the community over become a better real estate investor, I'll take that all day. I'll take that all day. And that's why I rarely talk about real estate. And that's funny because I can do real estate with my eyes closed and my hands tied behind my back, when it comes to numbers and X's and O's and KPIs and, and systems
Right.
and personnel and processes and marketing. That stuff came easy to me because I spent over, between Sal and I for sure, over 20,000 hours on that craft. Right. And then when that was mastered or whatever, mastered to the, marketing and sales and all that and scaling, then what did I begin to look for? I began to look for to master myself. I mastered that angle. I mastered that area of my life without mastering myself.
Right.
Then I was like, okay, I got that down. All right. I got a freaking asset director who handles fix and flips and buy and holds. I got a sales director who oversees the entire acquisition side. I got dispo managers, I got TCs, I got a CFO, I got a CO. I got it all in place. I don't have to worry about that anymore, right? Now I just got to master myself, and that's that's a good way to leverage money, by the way. That's a good way to leverage money, bro, is, okay, I got the money game somewhat down. Let me start becoming the best version of me, because I know for a fact that the person will never outgrow the level of success, right? So, like, success will never outgrow the person, and the person will never outgrow the level of success you can reach. And That's why I believe in pouring into yourself. And I know for a fact now, after spending, 6 figures last year in myself, and I know that I'm going to spend 6 figures this year on myself and my family now I got my family on board. I can tell you this, the best investment that you'll ever make is in yourself. I know that for a fact. So
here's a funny story about that. So my son plays hockey, right? And every time we get in the car after a game or even after practice, he always asks me, how do you think I played? And so I always give him honest feedback. So I started playing hockey again.
Beautiful.
And I was, after one of my games, he watched me. We get in the car, and I'm like, I'm going to flip the script. I'm going to ask him. And I said, hey, Trinity,
how do you think I played? How do you think I played
tonight? And he gave me honest feedback. And he said, when y'all were up 3 goals in the third period, it looked like you got tired and you stopped hustling back as much as you were earlier in the game. And he goes, you always tell me not to do that. Don't worry about the scoreboard. You always have to hustle back just as much, no matter what the scoreboard is. Yep. And he said, you started playing hard again once they got to within 1 goal. But the only reason why they got to within 1 goal is because you stopped playing as hard.
There you go.
And I thought about that for a really long time, because I was like, if my son is paying that much attention to what I'm doing on the hockey rink, imagine what he's doing when I'm at home. Or how the words that come out of my mouth, or the tonality that I use.
Yes.
He's 8 going on 9 years old. He's at that age where I'm his hero. right?
Absolutely.
I could do no wrong, but he's also mimicking and mirroring everything that I do. And so that's why your message of be a better father.
Let me leave you with two things in regards to our children, right? One, children learn through demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
Through demonstration, right? The way that I treat my wife at home, the way that I carry myself at home, they learn through demonstration. They mimic, they mock everything we do. I don't know if you obviously noticed that, right?
Yes, yes.
Two, how do children spell love? Time. That's it. That's all they want.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit about you buying them the best ice skates, the best gear. He wants your time. How do children spell love? Time. And brother, that's why I pride myself now, man, in like just trying to be the best father that I could be. Because guess what? We're not going to have them around that long in our lives. We're not. They're gonna want to go do their own thing. So I'm just,
dude,
go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you right now, my son, he loves hockey more than anything. Like he really wants to go to the NHL. Like that is his goal. Okay.
I love it.
And I've told him, I'm like, son, I will support you as much as as far as you go, I will support you. That being said, the way it works in hockey is when they get to a certain age and they are literally drafted to these junior programs, they go live with other families, or you have to move to go to wherever they're drafted when they're 16.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's 7.5 years. Like, oh, hell no. I'm going to be in a spot where I could go wherever he's going.
And I see it.
Yeah.
And I see it, brother. And guess what? Yes or no, do you actually get more fulfillment out of life being around your family?
Oh, dude. I mean, I love nothing more than all of their, I mean, my daughter's 3. I mean, I love her. The moments that I get to spend with them are incredible. You know, I mean, just this weekend, I mean, just Easter weekend, getting to do the Easter egg hunts and everything that comes along with that, just spending time with them like you're talking about, man. I mean,
bro.
You know, I tonight I'm going home. I'm going to go watch the college basketball national championship with my son. I mean, I remember being his age and watching national championships with my dad.
I love it.
And now it's the opposite. And you know, I mean, we've got the biggest couch that you could possibly buy, and he sits on my legs. You know, I mean, it's like he just wants to be there. You know what I'm saying?
And one day, brother, you're going to look back at that. Yeah. Like, I want you to, I mean, I'm sure you have some pictures of him doing that, but I really want you to hang on to some of these moments, man, because one day you're going to look back and guess what? The beautiful part about this is when he's he's a young man and he's out doing his thing, all you got to do is take a look at that picture. That emotion will come back to you, man. And you can relive that emotion over and over and over, bro. So, you know, hang on to those emotions, brother, because, you know, they're not going to be around forever, man. You know, they're not.
I know. So, and it's the greatest feeling in the world.
And bro, you know what? I want to, by the way, I didn't say this, but you know, I definitely want to honor you for doing the things you're doing with your son, man. I do.
Yeah,
I do. Because guess what? A lot of entrepreneurs, we neglect our children.
Agreed.
We neglect our children, man. So,
well, and I will say that entrepreneurs need to understand that we often talk about the sacrifices that we make, and very rarely do we talk about the sacrifices that our family makes.
Absolutely.
Because of the dreams that we hold for ourselves. And it's very cliche to say that we're doing it for them, but in all reality, sometimes the entrepreneur needs to be real and say, nah, sometimes you are doing it for your own pride.
This is just what I love to do.
Right. I'm doing it for myself, and they get it as well.
Yeah.
You know? So anyways, I want you to answer that question though. How do people find out about All In Freedom?
Attendfreedom.com.
Okay.
Attendfreedom.com. I haven't mentioned all the speakers that we're going to have, so I'll do it for the first time publicly here on your podcast. Because we've been dropping on one by one. Have
I
you
know.
noticed that?
I've seen that. Yeah.
You're like, oh, Max, okay, cool. Oh,
Yeah.
Sean Terry, okay, cool. Today, Ryan Pineda, right? Tomorrow, who knows who it is, right? I'll say this: Max Maxwell, Sean Terry, Ryan Pineda, Cody Sperber, Pace Morby, Keith Everett, Donnie Ruffin, Sasha Kier, Alex, myself, my spiritual mentor, Christian Ferris, and we have one of my mentors. He's a multi-billionaire. He has a company called Di Bartolo Development. They used to own the 49ers at one point.
Yep.
They came up with the concept of outdoor malls, which are now considered outlets. He's going to talk about market correction, market recession. So that's going to be a very special treat for everybody. I haven't announced that, but he's worth about $6 billion. In 2007, when the last recession happened, or the last crash or correction, he turned $1 billion into $6 billion. So I think that's going to be a treat for everybody that's there, man. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
That's incredible, man. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, brother.
It's been incredible to see your journey over the years, and I'm so excited to see what you're going to do next. I mean,
well, brother, we're boys, we're brothers, we're friends, and we'll be sharing some successes, some victories together. You know what I mean?
For sure, man. All right, guys, that's all we got for you. Thank you to Carlos for hopping on today, and
did we even talk about real estate today? Jesus Christ!
At the end of the day, if you want to learn about real estate, go to one of our programs. The podcast is much more than just real estate.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, remember, drop us a 5-star review if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and also leave us a thumbs up. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Carlos.
All right, brother. God bless you.